Imagine tuning into the radio on a peaceful evening in the 80s with that smooth saxophone setting the mood for romantic shows. Listening to Kenny G felt like receiving an invitation to relax and let your heart float away. Kenny is the best-selling instrumental artist of all time, a phenomenon who helped define smooth jazz, a style many still love today. During the 80s, his music quickly found its place, becoming the soundtrack of romantic moments for millions of couples. If you lived during that time, it was almost impossible not to hear Kenny G on the radio, in commercials, or at friends' houses. Over a career spanning more than 40 years, he has sold around 75 million albums, winning fans across the globe. But with success also came the weight of criticism. Kenny became one of the most talked about and disliked musicians of his generation. Many critics viewed him as an artist who domesticated jazz, turning it into something, for them, overly simplistic. His music was often described as so calming it was nearly anesthetic, and the use of the term jazz to define his style caused discomfort among some purists of the genre. Today, we'll dive into the journey of this remarkable saxophonist, from his early roots to becoming one of the most talked about and listened to figures in instrumental music. And if you enjoy today's content, don't forget to like and subscribe so you'll be notified whenever a new video is out. Without further ado, let's get started. Kenneth Bruce Gorelick, better known as Kenny G, was born in 1956 in Seattle to a middle-class Jewish family. At the age of 6, he played his first notes on the piano, but it was at 10 that he discovered his true passion, the saxophone. While attending Franklin High School, Kenny joined the Franklin Jazz Lab, a highly respected band that even had a resident composer, James Gardner. Gardner, who quickly recognized Kenny's talent, described him as reserved, shy, and highly intelligent. The only girlfriend he had was his new soprano sax, Gardner recalled. To inspire the aspiring musician, Gardner gifted Kenny the album Inner City Blues by the saxophonist Grover Washington Jr. Night after night, Kenny listened to the record tirelessly. Years later, he confessed, "I tried to become the white Grover Washington Jr., but every time I played my saxophone, it sounded just like me." Kenny's first big break came in 1974, when he was invited to perform a solo during a concert at the Seattle Center Opera House, alongside Gardner's professional group. What was supposed to be a simple moment turned into a historic one. Kenny held a single note on his saxophone for an astounding 10 minutes, using the circular breathing technique. The audience, mesmerized, gave him a standing ovation. In 1976, Kenny's career gained momentum when he was hired by Barry White's Love Unlimited Orchestra. Barry was impressed with Kenny's skill in the blues scale, paving the way for him in the professional music world. Despite his early success, Kenny stayed grounded, balancing his music career with accounting studies at the University of Washington. After graduating, he played with bands like Cold, Bold, and Together, and joined the Jeff Lorber Fusion, a group recording under Arista Records. During this time, Kenny caught the attention of Clive Davis, the visionary founder of the label. Recognizing something special in Kenny, Clive gave him the opportunity to showcase his talent to the world through his soprano saxophone. It was Clive Davis who recognized Kenny's brilliance and offered him a solo contract, launching his career under the stage name Kenny G. However, winning over the top audience wasn't easy. To get his instrumental tracks on the radio, Clive had to pair him with popular singers, which somewhat discouraged Kenny. Even so, with support from Jeff Lorber of the Jeff Lorber Fusion, Kenny released his debut album in 1982. It was a modest start that opened the doors for his future works. G-Force, 1983, and Gravity, 1985, both achieved platinum status. but it was Duotone's 1986 that truly changed the game. The success of this album came after a bold decision. During a performance on The Tonight Show, Kenny changed the planned song, an R&B classic called What Does It Take to Win Your Love, for his own composition, Songbird. Although this upset the show's producers, it proved to be the right choice. The song became a hit, and the album reached 4th place on the Billboard Hot 100, winning over fans of contemporary jazz, R&B, and pop. Kenny's success was solidified when he collaborated on albums with icons like Aretha Franklin and Whitney Houston. In fact, he was present at Sweetwater's Club in Harlem when Clive Davis discovered Whitney. Impressed, Kenny said, "You should sign her." Years later, in 1987, the two shared the stage for a memorable performance at Madison Square Garden. The momentum continued with Kenny G Live 1989 and Silhouette 1988. Both topping the contemporary jazz charts. Kenny also excelled in movie soundtracks, such as the theme for Dying Young, 1991, which earned a Grammy nomination, and the soundtrack for The Bodyguard, 1992, starring Whitney Houston. In 1992, Kenny released Breathless, a milestone in his career. With over 8 million copies sold in the US and 30 million worldwide, the album included the hit Forever in Love, which earned him his first Grammy for Best Instrumental Composition. In the following years, Kenny released Miracles 1994 and The Moment 1996, both dominating jazz and pop charts. In 1999, he dropped Classics in the Key of G, featuring reinterpretations of classics like Round Midnight and The Girl from Ipanema. Despite his stellar career, Kenny faced controversies. In 1999, he released a duet with Louis Armstrong on the classic What a Wonderful World, using overdubbing to blend his performance with Armstrong's original recording. Produced by David Foster, the project was criticized by jazz purists who saw it as disrespectful to alter a masterpiece by a legendary improviser. Kenny defended the project, saying, "I didn't want to spoil the original. I said, whatever we do, if we're not going to make it better, let's throw it away and we won't do it." So Foster guaranteed that it would be better, and I hope that we did a good job on it. For Kenny, the ideal music is created in the studio, not on stage. Reflecting on his productions, he says, "When I hear the final result, I can only think, this is just so beautiful." In the 2000s, Kenny continued his musical journey with albums like Paradise, featuring Latin influences, Wishes, a holiday album, and Ultimate Kenny G, a greatest hits compilation. In 2004, he released At Last, the Duets album, featuring collaborations with LeAnn Rimes and Chaka Khan, followed by I'm in the Mood for Love, 2006, which topped the contemporary jazz charts. In 2008, his album Rhythm and Romance, influenced by Latin sounds, reached the 14th spot on the Billboard 200. In 2010, Heart and Soul, featuring vocals by Robin Thicke and Babyface, earned a Grammy nomination. Kenny continued exploring new horizons with Namaste, 2012, a collaboration with Indian musician Rahul Sharma, and Brazilian Nights, 2015, a tribute to bossa nova. Even after decades of success, Kenny maintained an active schedule. In 2017, he embarked on the Breezin' and Breathless tour with George Benson. In 2019, he reached the 37th spot on the Billboard Hot 100 with his feature on Kanye West's Use This Gospel. In 2021, he released New Standards, inspired by the classics of the 1950s and 60s, contributed to the soundtrack of the SpongeBob movie Sponge on the Run, and in 2023 unveiled his latest album, Innocence, a collection of lullabies accompanied by orchestral arrangements. The 2021 documentary, Listening to Kenny G, delves into many fascinating aspects of Kenny's life, including his surprising popularity in China. For over 30 years, his song Going Home has been used as a universal signal in the country, indicating the end of the workday. Yin Ji Yuan, a Chinese music official interviewed in the documentary, suggests that Kenny's melody has similarities to traditional Chinese music, describing its sound as easy to understand. On the other hand, the New York Times critic Ben Ratliff offers a more proactive perspective. The song Going Home, like a lot of his songs, has a calming effect, I guess, which will reduce people's desire to resist things or cause trouble. It's not protesting anything, it's not against anything. Is Kenny G's music a weapon of consent? Does it make people agree to comply? And if so, why? The film also explores the issue of cultural appropriation and the commercial exploitation of jazz, a genre pioneered by Black artists but frequently capitalized on by white musicians. This reflection ties directly to Kenny's career and his creation of a unique style. During a focus group discussion about his music, a listener described his sound as smooth jazz. The term quickly gained popularity and was adopted by radio stations across the United States. Even so, Kenny never considered himself part of traditional jazz. In a 1993 interview, he shared that while he admired the technical skill of legends like John Coltrane and Charlie Parker, their style didn't move him emotionally. For Kenny, the most important thing has always been creating memorable melodies and performing his music with perfection. This pursuit of perfection goes beyond music. Kenny applies the same meticulous dedication to golf, aviation, cooking, investments, household chores, and even parenting. Married twice and father of two, Kenny recalls asking himself when his children were young, "How can I become the best father the world has ever seen? I'm going to start studying this." He takes pride in the results, saying he's happy with how his sons turned out. Kenny notes that they had the example of a father who, even after achieving great fame, continued to strive to learn every day. Now, at 68 years old, Kenny maintains the same discipline, practicing the saxophone for 3 hours daily. Interestingly, he admits he doesn't understand harmony and relies on an assistant to find the chords that best complement his melodies. Nevertheless, he fully trusts his intuition to create, a mindset that showcases both his uniqueness and his determination to excel in everything he does. Did you already know the story of Kenny G? Has any of his music marked an important moment in your life? Leave a comment below. I'd love to read it and give you a heart. And if you enjoyed today's content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. Your support motivates us to keep bringing you fresh content every week.